Hey everyone, Mike Shanklin from the Peace, Freedom, Prosperity Movement, voluntaryvirtues.com. Glad you guys could join us again today. Today, I wanted to talk about corporations. Corporations. I'm rolling up the sleeves. Here we go. No, seriously, it's a little warm in the house. But anyway, I want to really focus just on the corporations for today. Sometimes when I have my little rants and political education, whatever you want to call it, I sometimes go off on a numerous type of different tangents, and I really want to focus and stay on just one topic today, and that's corporations. Because I hear a lot of people out here in the world talking about corporations and how bad they are, at least from the left, and then from the right, I hear about how good they are. This is political left and right, which really is kind of, they're all statists, but the point is, even inside statism, these people have their own independent parties that they latch onto, even though they change over time and have no constant ethical value, or they're not exactly static. They're always ever changing. People seem to leech on to these political parties, and in some of these political parties, such as the left, people believe that, not all people believe corporations are bad per se. Sometimes they actually believe you still need a corporation, you just need to regulate the hell out of it. On the right side of the spectrum, the Republican, the neoconservative type movement, even the regular conservatives, some of them believe that you have to have corporations, that is what freedom is, that corporation is automatically equated to a free market business, which I think both sides are completely fallacious here. And let me explain why. A corporation is not a free market regular business, okay? A corporation, it's not like we have a fairly open market and there's no intervention and people can just come in and sell what they want as they please. They usually have to incorporate through government. Especially the bigger the business, the more you have to incorporate, right? So these, what would have been free market businesses, go to government and they incorporate. They get licensed through the state. So what they're really doing is looking for a form of, in some cases, corporate personhood, a form of protectionism from their own personal assets. So if I want to make a risky move in the market, Mike Shanklin might, and rightfully so, might stand to have a lawsuit against me if I do something wrong, if I infringe on other people, if I pollute on their property, and henceforth. So what these people do, the corporatists, they will go into government and try to get the government to license their business. They'll try and get government to back them up and protect them. So it has nothing to do with free markets without a government. Corporations wouldn't even exist. They would not exist. Corporations, and you can look this up in the definition, it's a business by law, not just a regular business, it's a business by government law. So it's government backed, licensed, and given corporate personhood to basically keep accountability and responsibility away from an individual. So this is one negative side effect of a corporation, is that there's no individual accountability. If something happens out there in the real world and somebody gets hurt by a product, or there's massive pollution, once again, then there's usually, if I hit my neighbor, everybody knows it's me, right? But if I incorporate myself and become Michael Shanklin Incorporated, and I go up and I hit somebody else in the face, well, I'm not personally liable. Michael Shanklin Incorporated is personally liable. So it's a way of confusing people into, in some ways, brainwashing and conditioning people into believing that a corporation is freedom, and when really it's the exact opposite end of the spectrum, when corporations would not even exist without statism, without a government backing and licensing them. Another thing that corporations, and that's not the only negative side effect of corporations, I think it's important for us to take this to the next step. Corporations don't just get corporate personhood, and that's it, we're not going to do anything else, they lobby the government. So they'll hire these people to go into government to try and gain advantages, special advantages for their firms and their corporations. And what they'll do is ask for tax loopholes. Walmart's very guilty of this very practice. They'll ask for subsidies, agricultural subsidies. That's one big thing right there, let alone military-industrial complex subsidies for Halliburton and Raytheon and Boeing. But taking this the next step, that's not even where they stop, right? So they'll also try to privatize all of their profits, which everybody should be privatized their profits anyway. But to me, the bad part is this: they also try to socialize and dump off the losses on everybody else. So if a business like Freddie or Fannie do good, they will keep all the money to themselves. If they do bad, they just dish it off to the taxpayers, and all of us tax slaves have to pay for that. So they'll also not only search for corporate personhood, not only for tax loopholes and subsidies, but they'll also try and go in for bailouts. None of this would be possible without central banking from a government, because you can still have currencies without a government, right? You can have competing currencies. The reason we don't even have competing currencies today is because the government outlaws them through legal tender laws. Not that it's kind of an indirect illegality in the fact that, well, actually, some people do try to start up coin bullions and stuff like that. This is why only Bitcoin seems to be working right now. But when people try to make up their own competing currencies, they get arrested for it, right? Even if us peaceful people want to go into it, we know that the dollar, their dollar, or whatever currency or medium of exchange that they're using is going to hold its value, while the dollar, what is it, compared to when the Federal Reserve started in 1913, our penny is worth 3.5 cents compared to the dollar it used to be. So we have lost 90+% of the dollar's value over time through inflationary pressures, because that's where government comes in to print off all the money for the corporations to bail them out, let alone any other social program or war program that they have going on. They have there's only 3 ways for government to collect revenue, right? Taxes, which we're pretty high on taxes already as it is. Well, obviously you can go to 100% taxation, but then you'd have no economy. Number 2 is straight outright debt. So like we can just rack up all these bills, and before these kids are even born, they have $50,000, $100,000 price tags and debt stuck onto their bodies before they're even they come out of the womb, right? And third way is to print money through inflation, and that's usually what they do for bailouts. So the Federal Reserve will get involved, and they'll print off some money. Not necessarily, printing money. It doesn't matter if they type the numbers into a 1 or 0. The point is, they are devaluing your dollar by creating more of the money in circulation. There's only a certain amount of real value out there in the society, what we create, gross domestic product, which gross domestic product is actually kind of tainted because it includes government spending as well. In some cases, like a bomb is really going to go towards feeding a child, right? But anyway, this is what we're looking at here, is those 3 types of revenue. That's how government can do it. They're so inefficient, they can't even produce their own roads. They have to contract out to private companies to do it for them. Not even technically private companies, I don't even want to say that. They're kind of a government label that has masked the fact that they're subsidized and controlled by government. But still, government has to, they're so inefficient, they can't even do it themselves. They have to contract it out to somebody else, another type of government organization. So, usually a corporation, ironic enough. So we can see that corporations themselves